Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar Wednesday on Scottish Learning Disability Week 2021. This week, slightly different format. There's a few of us just going to start a panel discussion about relationships from the start. So will we just go around and just do a quick introduction? Michael, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, hi Alistair, brilliant to be here. My name is Michael McEwen. Yeah.
Right. Well, we've just got Michael McEwen, but maybe a bit more of an introduction than that, Michael. So kind of let's have a think about some of the things that you're involved with. So stay up late, maybe.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll say that again. My name is Michael McEwen. I'm the chair of Stay Up Late Scotland. I'm a disability campaigner. I am a freelance journalist as well. And yeah, it's good. It's just happy to be back on webinar Wednesday.
Thank you. Perfect. Claire, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Claire Bates, and I run something called Supported Loving. So we're a national network that works with anyone who's got an interest in sort of promoting relationships, sexuality, and good support around it.
Smashing. Thanks, Claire. John Paul?
I'm John Paul Moffat. I'm the National Director of Dates Meet Scotland, which helps people with learning disabilities to socialise and learn to get kind of friendship relationships as well. And I'm also a national committee member of Stay Up Late Scotland. And this is my first time on webinar Wednesday.
Thanks for that. And Chloe Taylor. Chloe, do you want to give us a little introduction to yourself?
Hi, my name's Chloe Taylor. I live in Glasgow and I am Mark Hinton's fiance.
Yeah, so you're going to tell us a little bit about how, because we're going to talk a little bit about relationships today, and I guess today's theme as part of Learn Disability Week, looking at relationships, is challenges. So we're going to have a little bit of a think about what are the challenges within the system, what helps and what gets in the way of folk having really good relationships, and what are the things that we're all either doing or would like to see happening, more of, so that we get better relationships, and we all have a chance to have really good relationships. So let's start off with that thing. Maybe the first point is, what do we think is most important about relationships? What are the things that people sometimes miss about the value of relationships, particularly for folks with disabilities?
Well, I think with relationships that you should be looking for like the right person, and how, and like meshing the right person and asking them what kind of hobbies they like as well. And it's more important to ask them what's your favourite thing to do, and ask them where would you like to meet, and get to know each other a wee bit better, and then take like things slowly as well.
So the chance that you've said a few things there. The chance to get to know people and go at your pace, but also the chance to just have a bunch of people that you can go and meet, because sometimes people's circle of folk that they know is quite small, and then how are you supposed to find somebody you really like if all you ever meet is the same folk? And I guess that's one of the reasons that Dates and Mates was invented, really, was to give people a wider range of folk to meet up with, and I guess as well as that, to kind of facilitate some of those conversations, those kind of, first time you go along, somebody comes along and says, oh, this is so and so, and tries to get you to not feel on the edges of things, because there's the thing about, you can physically be in a room full of folk, but you can still feel quite on your own, can't you?
Yeah. That's how it prior to last year or so at Dates and Mates, it's a good initiative that we've got, what's known as the Friendly Faces. What the Friendly Faces are, it's Dates and Mates members who've been Dates and Mates members say a long time. The same wearing a lanyard, friendly face, and introducing them to people who maybe the first time at Dates and Mates, or maybe someone whose voice was sitting themselves, and them introducing them, but also saying, while you're here, while a chance to meet you, why don't you come across to the other side of the table and meet some other? So that's when it starts. Can I break size, but it opens up new opportunities.
Perfect. Claire, are you going to come in with something there?
Yeah, I was just going to say that sometimes people think that like knowing how to date, that everyone knows how to start like to flirt and how to act on a date. And some people really struggle with that. And I know that at Supported Loving, we've got lots of members who do like dating courses, people to sort of like get people to know like how to approach a first date, how to ask someone out. Because we all think sometimes we know how to do that, but sometimes people need a little bit of help. I think it's important for people to get advice and help on that if they need it, because it can be a bit scary starting off.
That's a good point, isn't it? So that's kind of confidence, and I mean, Keith just joined us from our European discussion we were just having this morning on human rights, and the right to relationships is a human right, and sometimes, certainly in my long history of working in social care, sometimes there's a big fear of when you start getting into helping people to enable themselves to do things like explore things like dating techniques and how they can meet folk. That sometimes
you're going to say a long history of dating there, Alistair. You're going to say that.
Oh yeah, I'll delete that later. I'll say
delete that
later. He's always dropping me in it. It's for research purposes only, Keith. So that whole thing about sometimes we have great massive documents about things like how to deal with abuse, but we don't put the same level of effort into how you gonna actually meet somebody, and not just the mechanics of it, but like you say, how do you feel? How do you build trust? How do you meet somebody you really like? And sometimes those discussions can become a little bit difficult. But and that's one of the things that I sometimes see in terms of challenges is that people then freak out and back off. Whereas actually it's like, what do we need to do to make this happen?
I think for me, like Chloe made a good point about, if you like somebody or you chat someone up that you like, don't speak about music and all that, but my experience with kind of like online dating, and I don't know if we're going to speak about online dating in the past, and obviously I don't do it now because I've been with my partner for 10 years. But as soon as you say the word disabled, they actually say, okay, let's be friends. But up until that, they say, do you want to meet up? But it's when you say that, oh, by the way, I've got to tell you that I've got cerebral palsy. And then automatically they kind of like change their tune about, oh, do you want to be friends? So it's a bit like that word about what we speak about a lot, as about taking away these labels,
Yeah. The world of online dating can be really brutal.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Some two positive kind of like things out of online dating. My best friend met a husband. Then up to about 3 years ago, my brother met his fiance on the exact same dating site, plentyfish.com.
Well, you're
not getting paid by that, jumpers.
This week's Webinar Wednesday in association with.
Yeah, that's right.
No, and I think it can work for some people, but I think what Claire's saying is sometimes with that, it's like a picture, a short thing, and people you don't get a chance to know somebody. It's just like yes or no, and people make judgments very quickly. You don't get any of that chance to get to know people. You don't get any of that chance to just explore. It's very instant, and some of that doesn't work very well for a lot of folk. In terms
of catalogue of souls, it's like a catalogue of sort of people. Just wife. Sorry.
Like an Argos catalogue.
Like an Argos catalogue of people.
I suppose as well, it's like it's a good because the Scottish Commission for Learning Disabilities has given us a chance, because you don't usually speak about like relationships kind of thing, you know, and people automatically assume that because I've got a disability or whatever, I should really go out with somebody in a wheelchair, you know, and you know, you can go out with whoever you want with, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, yeah.
That's what I know. See, when I do, you know, at times with each mates, in the past we've done like the what to say after hello kind of workshops. That's just to like get people like maybe just like it's their first time. I start sort of conversation like cause is anyone sitting at a seat? So if someone sits at the same table, can start sort of conversation. Like, how long have you been a Dixie Mates member? And like that's when you could see a relationship starts. No, just kind of there's no natural kind of boyfriend girlfriend, or it could be like a friendship as well.
So we've had a couple of hellos there. So we've just had, for example, Debbie from Gig Buddies joining us as well. They are saying hello. So there's lots of things. We're talking about friendships and other relationships, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, all that stuff. So there's all of that stuff, isn't there?
There is. What's Debbie going to say after hello, though? That's what John Paul's saying.
Is he? All right, okay. He's saying what's she going to say next? Yes.
After hello. Yeah, and I was going to, when I came on, John Paul was talking about friendly faces, right?
Yeah.
About friendly faces.
Yeah. We've all got friendly faces on here, though, so that's nice.
Yeah, that's it.
That's good. Anyone watching today's webinar Wednesday will see lots of friendly faces talking about relationships. So, yeah.
So if we're thinking about some of the things that do help us to encourage people to be confident about supporting people to make and find relationships and to understand themselves and be confident, I think we've got to get people to understand the balance between sometimes the idea that doing nothing is safe, that like not giving people information about sex and their rights and their bodies and stuff like that, that's safe because if you don't talk about it, it won't happen, which clearly isn't the truth at all. We've got Tom saying relationships to me are important, definitely. Go for it.
We always say it's supported loving, you know, like giving people like information is power. And we get people saying sometimes, oh, don't talk to them about that, you know, don't mention that because you know, we don't want to bring it up. And it's like, you know, it's like that we talk about human rights, people's right to a relationship, but it's also people's right to information. So people have a right to information, and we should be. There's loads of really good information out there about sex and relationships, loads of easy reads, really good stuff by Change, you know, loads of good videos, loads of good stuff out there, and people sometimes want to hide people from it, and that makes people more vulnerable because they don't know. It makes people more vulnerable. But people are scared. They're worried they'll get in trouble if somebody asked me the other day, if somebody asked them a question about sex and relationships, I won't say what it is because it's quite early in the day, but they were like, can I tell them the answer? And I'm like, yeah, you can tell them the answer. Like, they were worried they wouldn't be able to tell them the answer because they were like, am I going to get in trouble? And I'm like, no, it's just giving information. You're not.
Yeah, confidence. So confidence, we have to let people. So it's not just about the person with the disability having the confidence. It's about the staff understanding that they're even if they don't have all the answers themselves, that they don't stop things and make people feel uncomfortable about it. I just said, you know, if people open up and say, well, this is important, or I don't know about that. If I don't know, if I can't help you, I won't just leave you and just say, oh, you know, we're not talking about that anymore. I'll go and see where else I can get that information and come back to you on it. And I think that if we act with that kind of integrity on it, to say, like, we're not going to be freaked out, we're going to go through this with you. I've work with a lot of people who have been doing stuff that's pretty dangerous, that's pretty dodgy for them, because people have given them negative messages about their life and they haven't been properly supported. And when we start to unpick some of those negative messages about this is wrong, you can't, and then we start to say, actually, you can do that, but you've got a right to choose who you go with and
how you do it.
How to do it. And that's so I think we can probably all of us prove that, that like you say, knowledge is power, and it's actually safer. So it's that illusion that hiding folk away, you know, it didn't work in institutions, and it's not going to work in terms of relationships, is it?
I suppose we using the state rate analogy for a minute, but if I was out one night or whatever and I saw a girl that I wanted to speak to, but and I had to build my courage up to go and speak to the person at the other side of the room. But then my support worker says, right, Michael, time to go away. And that's taking my rights away a wee bit, as Claire was saying, because everybody's got, you know, human rights, and everybody's got feelings as well at the end of the day, you know, and it's about taking that. And you might never see that person again, you know, until you go in that particular pub or nightclub or whatever, you know. But I just feel as though it's being, you know, it goes against people's kind of like human rights, and it's important that people can be confident as well. But the support worker is taking the confidence away a wee bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just seeing Tom's put in, I was in a relationship but it didn't work out, and that's an interesting one, because it's a thing that I've heard sometimes in staff teams where folks say, oh, well, that didn't work for them, but it's actually, well, how many of us are still in our first relationship? You know, we don't say, oh, it didn't work out. Alistair shouldn't be allowed in the relationship. You know what I mean? But it's that the same rules aren't applied to everybody, are they? It's like
well,
it's not like, oh, you know.
Well, they say, oh, they got upset, or they got really upset when it ended, and I was like, what? Don't we all get really upset? Don't we all get really upset when things end? Get drunk, call them on the phone late at night, eat all the ice cream, all that stuff.
Yeah, I like eating all the ice cream anyway. I mean,
you don't need a breakup for it. No need for a breakup.
Yeah, I think that's true, isn't it? Because the other thing I was thinking was we all learn and we get confident in different ways as well. So some people learn from information, some people learn from experience, and it's a bit what you were saying, Alistair. If we don't talk about things, then they'll happen anyway. They'll just happen without anybody knowing, and then probably in a more risky way. So it's and if we don't try things as well, then we'll never learn anything either. So personally in our lives, you know, we all try. That's what life is about, isn't it? Trying new things, doing new things, having new experiences, living, loving, all those things. Living, loving, and sometimes getting things wrong as well, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's like a learning curve. Like, for example, I went along to... Isn't it? It's a learning curve. Especially someone who's...
And when I go in and do training with teams, when I do trainings, I do a lot of training with staff around helping people around sex and relationships. And I often tell them that this isn't going to be like all suns and rainbows all the time. You're probably going to get more safeguardings and putting in inverted commas there, more issues. You know, it's not going to make your life. It's not going to make things, you know, automatically easier, but it's going to make people's lives richer, because we all. You know, that's part of life, isn't it? Things go wrong. Things, you know, relationships are quite dramatic sometimes not. Arguments, things happen, you know, and that's just part of normal life. And you know, we shouldn't be treating it. There was a love triangle situation. I was on a training with staff the other day, and there was a love triangle, and they were like, "Oh, well, she's making her boyfriend jealous. We should stop the relationship." But she's holding hands with someone else, and I'm like, "Come on." You know, like, have we never made someone else jealous in our lives? Have we never gone down the pub and made someone else a bit jealous? We wanted to make, you know, it's like people, that's just life. And just because you've got a disability doesn't mean you're not going to behave like you're going to behave just like every other human being on the planet. It's, you know, it's getting staff to realise that, you know, people have the right
think-
to live their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like when I met my partner, obviously I was upfront and told her that I have a disability, but she didn't really matter. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but she said, you know, I'm not going out with your disability, I'm going out with you, you know, and your disability should become kind of like second nature. You know, like look at the person first before look at the disability, or don't look at the disability at all.
Absolutely.
right. I'm just thinking, I'm wondering if I can bring in Chloe there, because you've had the experience of during lockdown trying to stay in touch with your fiance, and because of support, because he gets a bit of support, you really struggle to keep that connection going, haven't you? Other than Zoom calls.
Oh, Zoom all the time with him. During the lockdown was quite difficult because I couldn't see my fiance. The pair of us were absolutely struggling with the lockdown, and the pair of us were keeping ourselves going with our engagement, and we were only two that are keeping ourselves going as a couple, and he was missing me badly during the lockdown, and he was missing me, and he was texting me all the time and saying that he's missing me badly, he was missing my cuddles. But it was quite hard for the both of us during the lockdown, but we coped with it as a couple, and the pair of us were very strong, and I was very proud of him for what he actually went through during the lockdown, and I'm happy that he's part of my life, that I really don't know what I would actually do without him, because then during the lockdown the pair of us went out for a walk and it was like socially distancing, and the pair of us were like, what's this about? And then he was saying to me, socially distancing, I really want to like hold your hand and walk with you, and I'm like, I know, but it won't be like that long. And then he was when the time I got home, he was missing me, and I was literally in tears because I'm missing him.
I'm just thinking, Chloe, as well. Sorry to say that partly as well, because he was in a shared house, and because you're in another bubble, you couldn't form a bubble, because we looked at all of these things like, could you not be part of the same bubble? But it's just that combination of, and I guess a lot of people with disabilities are living in shared housing, so it messes up a lot of the opportunities for that bubble stuff. So a lot of the rules have been, have affected folk maybe even more than other parts of the community who haven't had, who've maybe been staying on their own, and they can say, hey, I can just bubble up with somebody that I choose with, rather than just somebody who I happen to share a house with.
It was quite hard because he was in like another bubble kind of thing, and like and there was like one point I was outside in his back garden in the pouring rain, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then I had like an umbrella and everything, but he was really, really missing me, and because he wasn't in my bubble, he was really like struggling because he wanted to be in the same bubble as me, but that couldn't happen, kind of thing, because as a couple, you like want to be in the same bubble as your actual other half, and I think that from my own point of view that I've not like seen my fiance for that long, for a shorter time during the lockdown, and it's been hard for the both of us during that period.
What about now? What about now with the restrictions? Are you managed to see each other?
We've seen each other. We've seen each other for like going out for like a meal and that stuff, but like social distancing kind of thing. But the pair of us are actually wanted to just like cry because we can't like sit next to each other. But we actually watched the news yesterday, and I was actually literally in tears when I heard Nicola Sturgeon say you can cuddle your loved one.
Next week.
Yeah.
That's it. Cautious group hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
he was happy with that, and he was in buckets of tears as well.
Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah,
Mm.
as well, because he's the most. I mean, like, if anybody knows him well, that he's the most wonderful boy that I've ever met in my life. I really don't know what I would actually do without him.
Well, that's fabulous. There you go. There you go. A ringing endorsement for your fiancé there. But, but I mean, and I think that one of the things is that you guys have both put the
Yeah.
effort in, and you've had the skills to kind of keep each other going. And a lot of other people, maybe things haven't gone so well over lockdown because, you know, there's all the stress, all the, you know, and I think that's that thing about sometimes folks say, oh, I don't want to interfere, but actually, if this is a really difficult time, and I think you've got to help people to say, what will it take for this to work out? How can we support people to get through this, and not just sit back and see what will actually, whether things will work out or not? Any thoughts about or any examples of folk going the extra mile to help folks stay connected?
To help them and stay connected is through like Zoom or through like WhatsApp call is the best way. But if you're like a couple, the best way to do it is go through like Zoom or through normal call.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Joy. Anybody else?
We know some people that have moved in together that they just decided they were just gonna. They didn't live in a shared house. One person lived in a shared house, but the other person lived independently, and they just took it on themselves just to move in. Just sort of, they were just going. They didn't care. They packed a bag, didn't, and just went. And yeah.
And did anybody freak out at that, or did everybody go with it?
One person lived in a shared house. Like their staff said it was. They said it was fine. No, they went with it. But it was, yeah. Sadly, I don't think the relationship worked out. It was quite early days. They were quite early days. But they took the risk, and they just moved in together because they were just like, we don't know if we can last. But we've actually seen more negative stuff, I think, over lockdown of just like people. We've heard more stories of people just like staff not really taking it seriously and like realizing how important it was for people to, you know, to see their loved ones, you know, sort of not just being quite reverse about meeting people for socially distanced walks and just kind of not prioritizing it, sadly.
Yeah, people's mental health, isn't it? It's not just that.
Yeah. I was going to say to you, John. I was going to ask you, John Paul, just how's that worked out in dates and mates over lockdown? Because obviously everything had to change, didn't it?
Oh, it's been in between with dates mates. Like see the people who very active on social media. We're virtually every couple of days we do our coffee and chats, and they're just telling us about how their day's going or what we've got coming up. But the other ones I feel sorry for that are no social etiquette as the ones who only just like a phone call. How you getting on? Just like ones who who are not interested in social media. Just a landline call just to see what we're thinking of you. It could be a wee 5 to 10 minute chat.
Yeah. And then, so what are you thinking about the future then? Because obviously things can start to open a bit more. I can't all the time really, but from next week again, as Chloe was saying.
Well, what we're doing at Dates and Mates, is we're doing kind of small, kind of friendship matchings. It could be some members from, say, one of the 4 areas of Dates and Mates catching up in a park, go for like a couple of hours walk, and going to a local cafe and for a cup of tea or coffee. So we're starting to work outside now. But we're doing it in limited numbers.
Yeah.
So I guess what else can we really do? Do you think? What do you think we could all be doing at this stage as things start opening up to help everybody to support those connections and strengthen them, you know, from all our different angles. So from the kind of training and support angle, from the kind of the stay up late venues, the sort of dates and mates, the get-togethers, all the different angles. What do you think are the things that we should really concentrate on most just now on strengthening?
I would say still communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think as
You don't
well.
want them to when things go back to this new norm. You don't want people to like just disappear. Just you've been with us for the last year, so and just like go back to normal now.
Yeah.
Just like saying now things have picked up. Do you want any help with anything, or do you still need that bit of support from mates?
I think some people, it's going to be hard for some people because when they like go out there again, it's going to be like totally different for other people to actually go out there. But I think that other people are going to actually feel absolutely scared and thinking what everything's like changed around now. We're going out a bit more, allowed to go out our like area, but they're going to be absolutely scared. But I think the best way to do it is be absolutely confident in other people should be.
So that's a good one about the anxiety, the social anxiety. Some people, I find myself getting twitchy sometimes if I watch a TV program and there's folks standing next to one another and I think, bloody hell. It's got so much into your head now that closeness equals danger. That there are some people who have got themselves in a right state, and we are, like John Paul saying, that we've not got to be complacent and just don't just take things for granted. We've got to say, you know, what are your anxieties about getting back out there? And Michael, you were going to come in with something there, I think.
Yeah, no, really anxiety. What Chloe was saying about building confidence up as well. Just give you a quick example that I was out yesterday for my lunch, and it was nice to get out, but I was scanning, you know, signing in, you know, cracking clays, and this guy was scanning at a table like 2 meters away, and I was asking my partner, why is he scanning up and not moving? But it was because I was at the door. So I think you see a lot of people, not even in a dating sense, but in any kind of walk of life now, I think a lot of people's confidence is basically shot to the wall, and we need to rebuild that. And then when I moved out the way, the guy kind of walked out the door. Now that's I don't know, but that's what we're going to be faced like that for the next year or the next, well, to the end of the year as well, you know, like. But from a disability point of view, from a dating point of view, we need to support and encourage people to go back out, because we've spent the best part of the year to say, no, don't go out, we're not doing. But now we're saying to people, yeah, it's okay, you can go back out. You know?
Socially distanced dating, it would be very difficult, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah. Oh, I'm really like socially distanced and dating with my fiance, that would be a bit weird. But I love him to pieces. I want him to know that if he's watching.
I think he knows that, Chloe.
We had a hello from him earlier on in the proceedings, so I think he is still watching.
Yeah, it's really interesting that, isn't it, Mike? It's just really interesting what we're saying about that, because like some people will feel okay, other people will be unsure, and some people will be really anxious about going out. Everybody's going to be different there. So it's just about being, I think for anyone who's talking to anyone, really, it's about being sensitive and trying to understand people and recognizing that everybody's different. And like we say, you know,
And one of the other things is that I know that in the general population, they're saying that the worry is that after this, there'll be a bit of a free for all, that folk will just turn up and it'll be whoa, you know, parties catching up, and that folk will end up maybe in relationships that they didn't necessarily want to be in, or what have you. So it's that's a tricky one as well, as things open up, to just not be so desperate to meet anyone that you end up going with anyone just because they're there, and just take your time.
I mean, I think it's important to say, and I know that you've not spoke about it, and I don't know. Sorry if I'm jumping the gun if you're going to speak about it, but I think it's to do with the parents as well, because when I met my partner, I was a bit scared in killing my mum and dad because that was my first kind of partner without a disability, and my mum and dad wasn't basically. Well, they cared in a nice possible way, but they said, well, Ron, like, you're happy, and like Lorraine, like McGill things, kind of like happy as well. So I think a lot of to do with it about, you know, parents and, oh, you shouldn't go out with that person because they've not got a disability, or, you know, the way as well coming out to say, well, they're not the same as you, so don't go out with them.
Yeah, that's a really important point about the labels and the boxes that we put people in. We had a discussion before about the fact that there's a BBC reporter who's a wheelchair user that got turned down from one of these. It was one of these kind of high income professionals dating sites that kind of tries to match people up, and they basically said, we don't have good results for your sort of person, and she was in tears because she was saying, why am I being denied the right to? Because it's not like you've got to say everybody on that site's got to be happy to date somebody with a wheelchair who's using a wheelchair. It's just like anybody else. If you click on and you say, oh, that seems like a person, as long as there's a few people in there, you know. So it's a different set of standards being applied, and that makes your choice of who you can possibly meet smaller. So
it's a bit patronising. When you hear it.
Yeah.
Like people telling you, oh, it's just that's a great opportunity, but they can't do that.
They can't do that.
How do they know they can't do that?
Exactly. We've got Debbie saying that they're going to be coming back to smaller in-person socials, and then no acknowledgements of anxieties members have. So building up in a planned way. That makes sense. Okay.
That's what Debbie says after hello.
After hello, that is what she said. And Claire left the relationship and came back.
Sorry, I live on a boat and I've got a really bad Wi-Fi and it overheated. So I had to put it in the freezer. I had to come back and get my phone.
You had to put your Wi-Fi in the freezer. That's the first time
the Wi-Fi in the freezer. It gets overheated. Sorry.
Brilliant. That's really good. Anything else that you think that that we can all do? I guess we can all just try and make sure that we work together. There was another suggestion from one of our members that we just resurfaced just a couple of weeks ago that was from our very first Stay Up Late Scotland meeting, where somebody suggested we had a campaign called Make Mine a Double, which I know that you spoke to you about, Claire, and stuff like that. I've done a little graphic, and that was because she had a disability, a physical disability, and she was not being offered the chance to have a double bed, which she felt, was against her human rights, and how was she ever going to have a physical relationship if she didn't have access to a bed that she would have room to have somebody in with. So
we had a similar logo. We had single bed, single lives, and that was that we've been thinking about doing. We've got some ideas in the pipeline about a single bed a double bed pledge, about some ideas around that to sort of like get providers to sign up to not, if they provide furniture, to not give single beds as like to offer everyone a double bed if they're the people offering the furniture. So yeah, we'd love to work with you on that. I think we'd love to see the end of these. I mean, I haven't had a double or single bed since I was a child, so I can't imagine how you get two people in.
It's a bit of a struggle, isn't it? It's like, especially not for we've got like I'll just.
Yeah, you're not going back to your dating experience again, now, Alistair, are you?
I'm just gonna share a screen. Don't worry, it's not that kind of screen. No, this is what we what we've come up with so far. Make mine a double because the party doesn't stop at the end of the night. So there we go. So maybe we'll be sharing that roundabout and asking people how we can get involved in all that kind of, and like we say, it's not just about double beds, it's about that whole thinking about
double beds.
It's how you see somebody.
Yeah,
it's how you perceive them. If you're giving someone if someone's only got a single bed, you're assuming that no one is ever going to come and share that with them. So that gives a strong message, I think, and that's also a really good excuse for people to say, "Oh, they can't stay here. Where will they sleep?"
Yeah, that's it. So not starting from the position of 0, and then you've got to argue up. Start from the position of equality and say, why would we do anything different? And that's what I think we don't do enough of, is force people to think about really writing down and making the effort to say why they're arguing against somebody's rights. And it's all on the people arguing for the person's rights. And that's exhausting, and in so many levels. So if we can get that balance better, it becomes much more equal, because you're asking people to justify why they're denying people their rights.
I was doing a training session with an organisation who will remain nameless this week. I had to go outside and go for a walk. So I was so angry at the end of it, because they basically said that it wasn't standard in people's contract in supported living to not have overnight guests in their house, and I was just like, well, that's crap. Sorry, that's a miles. I was very annoyed. I was so annoyed because I was just like, that can't be. I said, would you accept that in your life? Would you accept never being able to have a friend, a family member, anyone stay overnight in your house, in your room? I said, would you accept that in your own life? And they were just like, well, that's and I was so angry, and that they seemed to think that this was just okay and normal. And I was just like, we've got to start looking. If we wouldn't accept it in our own lives, then why do we accept someone who has support to accept it? It's absolutely, it infuriates me. It makes me so angry.
Well, in the early 90s, going back, the legislation in Scotland was suitably woolly, that basically if you enabled somebody to stay over who wasn't married with a learned disability, that you could be charged with an offence potentially, with enabling somebody to have sex with somebody with a disability. So it was really messy. And I was supporting a couple, and they just were like, oh well, can I stay over? Can I stay over again? And she was ending up staying over about 3 nights a week, and I was like, do you want to move in? And it was like almost like, oh wait, nobody will notice that I'm here, you know what I mean? And I says, well we need to have a conversation, this is the right, but we did have to do a lot of jumping through hoops. But what I did was I just kept going with it, saying, right, what do we need to do to make this happen? And we pushed it, and we got the stuff written down to say that there were no concerns about that one person was taking advantage of the other person and all this, stuff. And they moved in and lived together for quite a few years. But I was very aware at that stage that it would be very easy for me to just go, well, the law says this, so unless they're married, I'm just going to say no. And I could potentially have got protected by my organisation for that. And that's what I think that, so, we've moved on a bit from that, but still I think the argument is too much along the, as long as I've written down on a form why I've done it, it's not like, the responsibility isn't so much about have I actually enabled somebody to have a good life to support their human rights. Did I fill in a form? You know what I mean?
I suppose this all ties into, I know this is another kind of topic for another week, but I suppose it always comes back to self-directed support, because we all know that there's people that get self-directed support, but they're not in charge of their own budget. This worker says, oh no, we need that for Michael and all that, whereas it should be Michael's, budget, kind of like self-directed support, and relating that to dating and relationships. It's up to you who you want to go out with or stay the night with, or whatever.
It's like it's like having usually once a year someone who will learn disability who gets support for a different organisation have a personal centred plan. They've look back at what they've done the last year. They look forward to what they're going to do the following year.
Yeah.
And one thing could be in a relationship. They could be in a relationship where like their partner. How do they take that forward? During this person in the centre plan.
So the important thing, John Paul, isn't it, is however you do it is working out what matters to you and what's important to you, and then trying to get out there and get involved in those things, do those things. Yeah.
Perfect.
And I'm just gonna before we. That's very nice. Thanks, Tom. We'll take you out. We'll meet you for a coffee somewhere. That would be good. I'd like that.
That's good.
But I'll still have to come down from Aberdeen for that. Anyway, what I was going to say was I'm just going to share, because I know we're nearly at time, but I just thought I could share the flyer for Saturday's event.
Oh, sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Well, hot off the press. Hot off June's press. Anyway, June's computer is the flyer for Saturday's Stable Scotland takeover of Learning Disability Week. So here it is. Can you see that? Is that on?
It is, yeah.
I can see it, yeah.
Okay, so there we are. It's on Saturday. For anyone watching now, it's on Saturday the 15th of May. And it's from 7 o'clock. And the No Bedtimes Bar is opening at 7. And then we've got a venue with music. And we've also got the club room, which is only DJs. The music room's got some music, some live, some recorded. And then a couple of DJs on as well. So, and then here's some of the people who are going to be joining. And you got the link on the bottom that'll take you straight there. So anyone who is watching today and wants a copy of that flyer, and you don't get it in any other way, just get in touch with us at info@stablecombs.com. That's it, isn't it? Sorry.
No, it's I think you're making them up now. It's stayuplatescotland@gmail.com.
I'm mixing my email addresses up, aren't I?
You matched up In Control Scotland and Stay Up Late there.
I wasn't going to bust your bubble there, Keith.
No, you should have definitely done, because I was mixing them up. That's exactly what I was doing. Yeah.
I'm too nice. Too nice.
Okay.
You said that you can email in. Sorry.
Any last thoughts from people before we wind up this session? Any final thoughts? We want to go around and ask Michael. Any final thoughts for today's subject?
I think one of the things that we never spoke about, and that tied into everything what Claire was saying about a double bed and all that. Like, I went along to an interesting chat yesterday about sex. And obviously that's a kind of dodgy kind of to speak about on the webinar Wednesday, but it just shows you, because people don't realise, well, they can go out together, but don't speak about sex or whatever. So I think that was quite interesting, and there was a lot of people there to speak about that subject. But no, I mean, I think the final thoughts would be, just be honest and open and fight for your right, I would say.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael. John Paul, you got any final thoughts?
I think I'm glad I've been invited along to talk at the webinar Wednesday, especially myself as the National Director of Dates and Mates, and just getting the training that you need to have a good life, a good perspective in life.
Perfect, John Paul. Claire?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's been really fun. Yeah, please, we've got a really good accessible charter on our website, and it talks about people's rights around sex and relationships. So I think people should definitely go on to supportedloving.org.uk www.supportedloving.org.uk, and you'll find our charter on there. And also, if you follow us on Twitter or Facebook, we've got lots of information going out about what we're up to. So follow us along. See the double bed campaign coming soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I was also going to say, Claire, that if folks sign up to your mailing list, you share a heap of really useful resources on a regular basis as well. So it's a really good conversation to be part of. So that's really helpful.
Get an email from me every week.
Yes, that's it. Chloe, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I like when we were talking about relationships and that stuff and talking about that other people can't see their loved ones, but I cannot, my other final thought, I cannot wait to hug my fiance. That is my final thought.
Your final thought. Perfect.
Yeah.
Keith, final thoughts for this week?
That if we want a good life, then it's going to be about the life full of relationships. No.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're not going to have a good life. So so it's just about how important relationships are to all of us. And that's how I connect with the world is through the relationships that I have. And anyone who wants to join us on Saturday, come along and do that. Can't remember what else we've got on this week. No Tuesday Talk next week. We'll be back on webinar Wednesday next week. That's it.
Perfect. Thanks everybody for joining and adding to this really useful conversation, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.